I never thought being private at work would turn into a nightmare. But here I am, sitting in my car after a meeting with HR, wondering if I should have just kept my mouth shut. Maybe I should start from the beginning. I've worked at this office for 9 years, started at the bottom, grinding, worked my way up to a decent position. I'm good at my job, I love it. But I've always believed in separation, work is work, home is home. I don't talk about my personal life, I'm not ashamed of it. I just don't think my coworkers need to know every detail about my husband, my kids, my weekends. I'm notoriously private. I redirect questions. I move the conversation along. For almost a decade, that worked fine. I have twin daughters. They're 8 now, full of energy and JoJo Siwa songs. I have a dog, a golden retriever who thinks he's a lap dog. I play softball in a rec league. I kayak when I can, and sometimes I go mountain climbing. I'm on Facebook under a shortened version of my name, Ali instead of Alexandra, with my married name. My photos are shared with friends, but I thought they were locked down enough. I never posted anything about work, never tagged my company. I thought I was safe, then Melinda joined our team last year. Melinda is one of those people who needs to know everything about everyone, not because she cares, but because she collects information like a hoarder collects stuff. She smiles, she asks you how your weekend was, she remembers your kid's name, and then she uses it. She plays the long game, getting close, building trust just to find leverage. I've seen her do it to other coworkers. She'd come back from lunch with some juicy detail about someone's divorce or their financial trouble, and she'd hold on to it, waiting for the right moment. I never gave her anything. I kept it surface level, whether traffic, that one Netflix show everyone watches. She tried. For months, she'd corner me at the coffee station asking if I had plans for the weekend. Just relaxing, I'd say, nothing special. She'd ask about my family. I have a brother, he lives out of state. Technically true, but not the whole picture. My coworkers saw me as a bit of an enigma. I made friends there, good friends. We talked about music, movies, politics, stupid memes. I just didn't bring up my husband or my kids. It's not that I'm hiding them, they're huge parts of my life. But I spend 10 hours a day at work. I like being an adult, talking about adult things, not just diaper blowouts and school plays. My husband understands, he's the same way. We agreed long ago that our private life stays private. Last Friday changed everything. Melinda walked into the break room at lunch with this look on her face, the cat who ate the goldfish. She sat down at the table where a few of us were eating and she just announced it. You know, she said, looking at me, I found out something interesting about you, Ali. You're married, you have twin daughters, a dog, a nice house in the suburbs, you play softball, you kayak, and you climb mountains, and you're on Facebook. I felt my stomach drop. Everyone at the table went quiet. I stared at her. How do you know all that? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She smiled. I did some digging. Your Facebook isn't as private as you think. Some of your photos are shared publicly, or maybe your friends shared them. I don't know, but I found you. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just felt cold. I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I sat in a stall for 10 minutes, breathing. When I came back, she was still at the table, chatting with the others like nothing happened. My coworkers looked uncomfortable. A couple of them whispered to me later that they thought it was weird that Melinda had no right, but no one said anything to her face. That weekend, I told my husband. He was furious. He wanted me to report her to HR first thing Monday. I hesitated. I've seen what happens when people report things at that office. There's a history. A few years back, a guy named Hank shared his struggles with his mom's health, and Melinda used it against him in a meeting. Another coworker, Rob, mentioned he was in debt and suddenly people were treating him differently. Lucy once joked about her marriage being rocky and it became office gossip. They all learned the hard way that oversharing is dangerous, but I didn't overshare, I actively hid, and she still found a way. Monday morning, I went to my boss. I'm not going to name her, but she's always been fair. I explained what happened. She listened, nodded, and said she'd talk to Melinda. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought Melinda would get a warning and back off. I was wrong. By Tuesday, Melinda was giving me the cold shoulder. She'd walk past my desk without looking at me. She stopped talking to me altogether. But worse, she started talking to everyone else. I heard from a friend that Melinda was telling people I was hiding something bigger, that I must be ashamed of my family if I never talk about them, that maybe I was in a cult or something. She turned it into a mystery she solved, like she was some kind of detective. People started looking at me differently. Some asked me questions about my husband, my kids, trying to fill the gaps. I just said I didn't want to talk about it. That made them more suspicious. I could feel the shift. On Wednesday, I checked my Facebook privacy settings. I found out that a few old photos from years ago were set to public because I didn't realize the new default. One of them was a picture of my husband and daughters at a birthday party. Another was me on a kayak trip. Melinda must have reverse image searched something or used my phone number from our work directory. I don't know. I changed everything to friends only after that. But the damage was done. Thursday morning, I got an email from my boss. She wanted to see me. When I walked in, she closed the door and told me that Melinda had filed a complaint. Melinda claimed I was creating a hostile work environment by being secretive and making her feel unwelcome for trying to be friendly. She said I was rude. She said I embarrassed her in front of everyone on Friday when I got up and left the table. I couldn't believe it. She was the one who broke my trust, and now I was the problem. My boss said she had to take it seriously because Melinda had witnesses who said I stormed off. I explained my side, showed her the Facebook issue, told her I had never been anything but polite to Melinda. My boss side, she said she'd talk to HR. Now it's Friday again. 1 week since Melinda announced my private life to the whole office. I've barely slept. My husband wants me to find a new job, but I love this job. I've been here 9 years. I shouldn't have to leave because of one nosy coworker. HR called me this afternoon. They want to schedule a formal mediation meeting next week. They said if I don't participate, it could be seen as refusing to resolve the conflict. I feel trapped. I thought keeping my work and home life separate was smart. I thought I was protecting myself. Now I'm being punished for it. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I should have just talked about my kids from the beginning. Maybe then Melinda wouldn't have felt the need to dig, but that's the thing, she would have found something else. She's that kind of person. I keep replaying the moment in the break room, the way she smiled, the way everyone stared. I didn't scream. I just got up and left. I should have said something, should have called her out right then, but I was so shocked. Now I have to figure out how to walk back into that office on Monday and face her, face everyone who knows more about me than I ever wanted them to know. And I have to sit in a mediation room and pretend I'm willing to work it out with a woman who invaded my privacy because I didn't hand over my life story on a silver platter. I thought I was overreacting at first. Maybe I was being too private. Maybe it's weird to never talk about your spouse or kids at work, but then I reminded myself it's my life, my choice, and she had no right. That's where I'm at. The meeting is next Wednesday. I don't know if I'm looking for advice or just to get this off my chest, but if you've ever worked with someone like Melinda, you know exactly what I mean. You know the feeling of being violated and then being told you're the problem. I'll update if anything changes. For now, I'm just trying to get through the weekend without losing my mind. That was the mess I was living in. Mediation next Wednesday. I still didn't know how I was going to sit in that room and pretend Melinda deserved an apology from me. But that story isn't over yet. A lot of you asked for an update, and I'll give one when I can. But while I was stuck in that waiting period, I stumbled across another story that hit way too close to home. It made me realize how far some coworkers will go when they feel threatened or entitled to your private life. This one was about a woman who had it even worse than I did. I read this woman's post from a chronic pain support group, and honestly, it made my blood boil. She had this condition where her pain level was basically always sitting at a 6 out of 10. She explained it like this: imagine stepping on a Lego or hitting your funny bone. That's an 8 for most people, but for her, that's daily life. On bad days, she used canes. On really bad days, she used a wheelchair. But most of the time, she pushed through, went to work, did her job, and didn't complain. She worked a part-time job on top of a full-time one. The part-time gig was at a new location closer to her home. Her boss, Amy, was great. The only problem was another assistant coordinator named Casey. Casey had been gunning for a promotion for years, and everyone knew it. OOP made it clear she didn't want any promotion. She already had a full-time job. She just liked this one, and it helped with her anxiety. Casey saw that as a threat. If OOP wasn't in the running, why should she get the spotlight? But Casey didn't want to compete on merit. She wanted OOP gone. So Casey started watching OOP. Noticing when she used her cane, noticing when she didn't, taking mental notes. Then she started taking videos. One Sunday, OOP was having a rough pain day. She was at a 7 or 8, so she used her cane. She parked in a handicap spot, put up her placard, and walked into a store. That's when Casey must have followed her. Later that night, OOP got a text from a friend at work. Casey had sent the video to a group chat. The video showed OOP walking from her car to the store without her cane. Because as OOP explained, sometimes when you have chronic pain, you have good moments or you forget it in the car. The video was edited, clipped so it looked like she was completely fine, going about her day without a limp, without assistance. Casey's caption: "Look who's faking it." OOP reported it to Amy. Amy took it seriously. She told Casey to delete the video and that she was being investigated for harassment and invasion of privacy. But Casey didn't stop. She started sending the video to other people. She posted it on social media with OOP's full name and workplace, calling her a fraud. OOP got death threats. People at work started whispering. A manager from another department even asked her why she needed a handicap placard if she could walk fine. OOP went to HR. HR said they'd look into it. They asked OOP for her medical documentation. She submitted everything. Then Casey filed a counter-complaint saying OOP was lying about her disability to get special treatment. HR interviewed both of them. The investigation dragged on for weeks. Meanwhile, Casey was still working there, still watching, still filming. OOP said she didn't scream, she didn't cry, she just felt a cold, sick rage. She hired a lawyer. The lawyer sent a cease and desist. Casey finally stopped posting online, but the damage was done. OOP lost 3 clients at her part-time gig because people believed the video. She started having panic attacks at work. She ended up taking medical leave. The worst part, the police wouldn't do anything. They told her it was a workplace issue, not a criminal one, and Casey's family had connections. OOP lived in Texas and she was black. She said she knew exactly why the cops wouldn't take her seriously. She updated a few months later. Casey got a promotion. OOP left the company. She found a new job where nobody knew her past. But she said she still flinches every time she sees someone pull out a phone in public. I read that story and I felt sick. Because Melinda hadn't filmed me, but she did the same kind of digging. She wanted to prove something too. My situation felt small compared to that woman's, but it was the same pattern, a coworker who sees your privacy as a puzzle to solve or a threat to eliminate and uses whatever they can find to tear you down. That's when I decided I couldn't just go through the motions at mediation. I needed to stand my ground. But that's a story for another time. The next story I ran into was from a completely different angle. A 17-year-old kid working at a coffee shop. He saw something he shouldn't have and it blew up his relationship. He was a barista working a busy afternoon shift. His coworkers pointed out a couple making out in the corner, full on making out like they needed a room. The kid looked over and his heart dropped. It was his girlfriend's older sister, Sam. Sam was 24. She had a fiancé. They were supposed to get married in July. The guy she was with was not her fiancé. The kid froze. He ducked behind the counter, hoping she hadn't seen him. He finished his shift avoiding that area. After she left, he came out to clean tables, thinking he was safe. But Sam came back in, maybe to use the restroom, or maybe she forgot something. She walked right up to him. She knew. She begged him not to tell. She said they needed to talk. He lied and said he didn't see anything. She didn't believe him. She said they weren't done and that they had to meet. That night, his girlfriend texted him. "What's going on with you and my sister?" He said he didn't know. She kept pushing. She wanted him to come over. He was only 17 and his parents wouldn't let him leave at that hour. He told her that. She said they'd drive to his house and he could sneak out. He said that would be hard. She said please. He was freaking out. He posted online asking what to do. Most people told him to tell his girlfriend the truth. A few said to stay out of it. He didn't want to be the one to break up a wedding. He didn't want to lose his girlfriend, but Sam was already spinning a story. She told her sister that the barista had been weird, that he was acting strange, maybe he had a crush on her. That made the girlfriend suspicious of him. The next day at work, Sam showed up again. This time she was alone. She cornered him and said if he told anyone, she'd say he attacked her. She said she'd ruin his life. He was 17. He believed her. He didn't tell anyone, not even his parents, but it ate at him. He couldn't look his girlfriend in the eye. He started making excuses not to see her. She accused him of cheating. He finally broke down and told her what he saw. She didn't believe him. She thought he was making it up to get back at her sister for the weird accusation. She called him a liar. He showed her the timestamps from his phone, the texts from his coworkers about the couple making out. She still didn't want to believe it. He ended up tracking down the fiancé through social media. He sent him a private message. The fiancé said he already knew. Sam had confessed the night after the coffee shop incident. She said the guy was just an old friend and it was a misunderstanding. The fiancé believed her. He called the kid a liar too, told him to stay out of their business. The kid was devastated. His girlfriend broke up with him a week later. She said he was causing drama in her family. He lost both of them. He quit the coffee shop. He never saw Sam again. He heard through mutual friends that the wedding happened on schedule. He still doesn't know if Sam was actually faithful after that or if the fiancé just didn't care. Reading that story, I felt for that kid. He was dragged into something he never wanted to be a part of. He tried to do the right thing and he got burned for it. It made me think about my own situation. I was an adult, I had 9 years of seniority, and I was still terrified of what Melinda could do. That kid had way less power and he still tried to stand up for what he saw. I respected that. I don't know if I'll ever be that brave. But sitting here waiting for Wednesday, I keep thinking about all these stories. The woman with chronic pain who was filmed. The barista who watched a lie destroy his relationship. And me, the private coworker who just wanted to keep her family separate from her 9 to 5. We all crossed the wrong person at the wrong time. And we all paid for it. That Wednesday came and I walked into mediation with my head held high. I had my notes, my timeline, and the printouts of Melinda's public announcement at lunch. HR had set up a neutral conference room. My boss was there, Melinda was there, and a mediator from corporate. I kept my voice steady. I explained that I had never violated any company policy by keeping my personal life private. I said that Melinda had used company time to dig up my personal information, announced it to the team without my consent, and created a hostile environment. I said I felt unsafe and disrespected. Melinda rolled her eyes. She said I was overreacting, that she was just being friendly, that everyone else shares their lives and I was the weird one. She said she found my Facebook through mutual friends and it was public anyway. The mediator asked if she had accessed any company databases or used work resources. She admitted she used her phone to look me up on white pages during her lunch break, but insisted that was her personal time. My boss spoke up. She said Melinda had been warned before about gossiping and stirring up drama. She mentioned Hank, Rob, and Lucy, 3 coworkers who had learned the hard way what happens when you share too much at this office. Hank had once mentioned his daughter's health issues during a staff meeting, and within a week someone used that info to imply he was distracted and shouldn't be trusted with a big project. Rob had been open about his divorce and Melinda had spread a rumor that he was sleeping with a client. Lucy had posted a vacation photo on Instagram and Melinda used it to question why Lucy got approved for time off when she was clearly not using it for rest. All 3 had either left the department or stopped engaging. The mediator looked at Melinda. She asked if she understood that her behavior was inappropriate. Melinda shrugged. She said, "I was just trying to get to know my coworker." If she has something to hide, that's on her. That was the moment I realized mediation wasn't going to fix anything. Melinda didn't see a problem. She thought she was entitled to my life story. I looked at my boss and she gave me a small nod. I knew then that even if HR wrote Melinda up, she'd find another way to needle me. The mediation ended with a written warning for Melinda and a reminder that personal information should not be discussed without consent. Melinda signed the paper with a sneer. I went back to my desk, and within an hour I had 3 emails from coworkers saying they were sorry I had to go through that, but one of them added a PS, "Be careful." Melinda's been texting people that you complained about them too. I spent the next few weeks in a fog. I stopped eating lunch in the break room. I ate at my desk with the door closed. I stopped going to team outings. My husband Dan noticed I was coming home tense every night. I told him what happened. He wanted to come to the office and confront her. I said no. He said, "Ollie, you shouldn't have to hide at work. You love your job." I did love my job. I had worked there for 9 years. I had built a reputation as a hard worker, a reliable team member, someone who didn't get involved in drama. And now Melinda had made me the center of it. I started getting side eyes from people who used to wave hello. One guy asked me, "So is your husband really a firefighter?" I didn't even know where that came from. I had never told anyone Dan's job because it wasn't relevant. Someone must have searched his name too. The final straw came 2 weeks later. My twins had a school play. I took a half day to attend. The next morning, Melinda was already at my desk when I arrived. She had a printed screenshot of my Facebook, a photo of me at the play, tagged by my cousin. She said, "Nice, you took a vacation day for a kids' show. Must be nice to have that kind of flexibility." I said it was a personal day and it was none of her business. She said, "HR might think differently if they knew you were violating the attendance policy." The attendance policy allowed personal days for family events. I had used it correctly, but she was trying to intimidate me. I didn't engage. I took the photo and walked straight to HR. I filed a second complaint. This time I included the comment about the play, the screenshot, and a log of every time she had approached me since the mediation. I also mentioned that she had accessed my husband's information. The HR director looked grim. She said they would investigate. That afternoon, I got a call from Dan. He said a woman had called the fire station asking about him. She claimed to be a reporter for a local newsletter. He didn't buy it. He said the number was blocked. I knew it was Melinda. I couldn't prove it, but I knew. I started having trouble sleeping. I would lie awake imagining what she would do next. Would she show up at my house? Would she contact my kids' school? I was terrified. I had always kept my work and home life separate to protect my family. Now that wall was broken and I couldn't fix it. I talked to my boss. She said she supported me, but she couldn't control Melinda's behavior outside the office. She offered to let me transfer to a different branch. I said no. I didn't want to run, but the idea of staying another month made my stomach turn. Then I remembered the story about the woman with chronic pain. She had left. She had found a new job where no one knew her past. She said she still flinched when someone pulled out a phone. I knew that feeling now. Every time I heard Melinda's voice down the hall, my shoulders tensed. Every time my phone buzzed with a work email, I was afraid it was from her. I made a decision. I updated my resume. I applied to 3 other companies. Within 2 weeks, I had an interview. It was for a similar position, but with more responsibility and better pay. I didn't tell anyone at work. I took a personal day for the interview. I got the job offer that night. I gave my 2 weeks notice on a Monday. Melinda wasn't there yet, but when she came in, she saw the goodbye card on my desk. She walked over and said, "Finally leaving, couldn't handle the heat." I smiled and said, "I got a better offer, no hard feelings." She didn't know what to say. My last day was quiet. A few coworkers hugged me. Hank, Rob, and Lucy each sent me a private message saying they wished they had done the same. My boss wrote a glowing recommendation. I turned in my badge and walked out the door, and I didn't look back. It's been 6 months now. I love my new job. My team is small and they don't ask personal questions. I keep my Facebook on full lockdown. I use a fake name for my volunteer work. My twins are doing great. Dan says I seem lighter. He's right, but I still think about Melinda sometimes. I heard through the grapevine that she got promoted after I left. She's still there, digging up dirt on people. The office became toxic. 2 more people quit. One filed a lawsuit. I don't regret leaving. I regret not trusting my gut sooner. I should have reported her the first time she asked me a personal question. I should have set a boundary hard and fast. If I learned anything from that whole mess, it's that you don't owe anyone your story. You don't have to prove you're a good person by sharing every detail of your life. Your privacy is a shield, and when someone tries to break it, you don't have to wait until they succeed. I still flinch when someone at work mentions Facebook, but I'm okay. I'm in a better place, and I'll never make the mistake of thinking that keeping your head down will save you from someone who's determined to dig. Sometimes the only way to win is to leave the game entirely, but not everyone has the option to just leave. That was a lesson I learned the hard way a couple years ago when my own privacy was violated in a completely different way, and this time I couldn't just walk away. I have chronic pain. It's not something you can see most days. I've had it since I was a teenager, and over the years I've learned to manage it. The way I explain it to people who don't have chronic pain is this. Imagine your normal day-to-day pain level is like a 1 or 2 out of 10. Maybe you stub your toe and it spikes to a 6 for a second, then goes back down. For me, my baseline is a 6. Every single morning I wake up, and it feels like I've pulled a muscle in my back or my hip. I can move, I can work, I can do most things, but there's always this dull ache underneath. Some days it's worse, a 7 or 8, and on those days I use canes. Rare, blessed days I drop to a 4 and I feel like I could run a marathon. I have a full-time job and a part-time job. The part-time one is something I actually enjoy. It's an assistant coordinator position at a small office near my house. I do it to pad my savings and because being busy helps with my anxiety. When I moved to that location, I was upfront with my boss Amy about my condition. I filed all the necessary paperwork for accommodations. I have a handicap placard for my car, I have a doctor's note, everything is above board. Casey was the other assistant coordinator. We were the same position, both reporting to Amy. Casey wanted a promotion badly, like obsessed with it. She'd been there longer than me, and she thought that because I was part-time and didn't want full-time, I was blocking her path. She made little comments here and there. Must be nice to only work 3 days a week. Some of us actually want to move up. I ignored it. I figured she was just ambitious. Then one Sunday, I had a bad pain day. I was at a 7, maybe an 8. I used my cane. I drove to the grocery store, parked in the handicap spot, and hobbled inside. I grabbed a few things, checked out, and went home. I thought nothing of it. The next morning, I got a text from a coworker I trusted. She said, "Hey, did you know Casey took a video of you at the grocery store yesterday? She's showing it to people in the break room." My stomach dropped. I asked for more details. Apparently, Casey had been driving by, seen me in the handicap spot, and decided to film me walking into the store with my cane. She showed the video to a few people saying, "Look, she's faking it. She walked just fine. She probably just uses that cane for attention." I didn't even know what to say. I went straight to Amy's office. Amy is a good boss. She's fair. She listens. I told her what happened. She looked sick. She said, "I'll talk to Casey. This is completely inappropriate." But Casey denied it. She said she was just sharing a funny video and didn't mean anything by it. She said I was being oversensitive. Amy gave her a verbal warning and told her to delete the video. Casey said she already had. I didn't believe her, and I was right. A week later, I was at a gas station. I was having a decent day, pain maybe a 4, so I wasn't using my cane. I got out of my car, pumped gas, and went inside to pay. When I came back, I saw Casey's car parked on the other side of the lot. She was holding her phone up, pointed at me. I froze. She lowered her phone and drove off. I called Amy immediately. Amy said she would confront Casey again. This time, Casey admitted she took another video. She said, "I just want to prove she doesn't need the handicap placard. She's not really disabled. She's lying." Amy said, "She has a doctor's note. She has paperwork. You need to stop." But Casey didn't stop. She started following me. She would show up at the same coffee shop I went to after work. She would drive past my house. I know because my neighbor mentioned seeing a car slow down and take pictures. I felt like I was being hunted. I went to HR. HR said they couldn't control what employees did outside of work. They suggested I file a police report. So I did. The police officer who took my report was not impressed. He asked, "Did she threaten you?" I said, "No, but she's stalking me." He said, "Taking a video in a public place isn't stalking, it's a gray area." I mentioned that she was targeting me because of my disability. He shrugged. He said, "Do you have proof she posted it anywhere?" I said I didn't know. He gave me a case number and said he would look into it. Nothing happened. Meanwhile, Casey got bolder. She started telling other coworkers that I was faking my pain. She said I was milking the system and taking advantage of accommodations. A few people started looking at me differently. One guy asked, "So do you really need that cane or is it like a fashion thing?" I wanted to scream. I talked to a lawyer. The lawyer said I might have a case for disability harassment and invasion of privacy, but it would be a long fight. She said if I could prove Casey was using work time to follow me, that would help. But I didn't have that evidence. Then one day, I got an email from Amy. She said Casey had been let go. Apparently, Casey had posted one of the videos on her personal social media, tagging the company. Someone in corporate saw it and recognized the store in the background. They reviewed the footage and determined that Casey had taken the video during work hours. She had lied about being on lunch. They fired her for misuse of company time and for creating a hostile work environment. I should have felt relieved, but I didn't because the damage was already done. The video was still out there. People in my community had seen it. I started getting messages from strangers saying I was a fraud. One person sent me a long paragraph about how people like me ruin it for real disabled people. I couldn't go to that grocery store anymore. I couldn't pump gas without looking over my shoulder. I started wearing dark sunglasses and a hat every time I went out. My husband Marcus tried to reassure me, but he was scared too. He said, "What if she shows up at our door?" I had to make a change. I quit the part-time job. It wasn't worth the stress. I found another part-time gig working from home, but I still flinch when I see someone pull out a phone in public. I still check the parking lot before I get out of my car. I still wonder if Casey is out there filming someone else. The police never followed up. I called the case number once and was told it was inactive due to lack of evidence. I don't know if she was ever charged. I don't know if she's found another target. I just know that my private life, my pain, my body, my daily struggle became public without my consent, and there was nothing I could do to take it back. I learned that sometimes people don't need to invade your home to invade your life. They can do it in a parking lot with a smartphone and no one will stop them. They'll call you paranoid. They'll say you're overreacting, but you know what you saw and you know what you felt. If I could go back, I would have recorded her first. I would have documented every instance. I would have filed a complaint with the EEOC before it got that far, but I was too scared, too embarrassed, too tired to fight, and I'm still paying for that silence. Now every time I hear a phone click, I tense up. I hate that. I hate that she took my peace of mind, but I'm still here. I'm still managing my pain. And I'm still refusing to let her win completely. But that wasn't the only time I saw someone's life get turned upside down by a coworker with a phone. Sometimes the worst betrayals don't come from a stranger filming you, they come from someone you actually trusted. I thought I was just doing my job. I was 17, working at a coffee shop trying to save up for a car. I never expected to see my girlfriend's sister making out with a guy who wasn't her fiancé. It was a Saturday afternoon in May. The shop was packed, one of those days where the line goes out the door and everyone wants a complicated latte with extra foam. I was on register, my coworker was on bar, and we were both moving as fast as we could. Then I heard my coworker laugh and say, "Damn, they need a room, this is a coffee shop." I looked up. There was a couple in the corner booth and they were all over each other. Like full-on making out, hands everywhere, the kind of public display that makes you look away. But when I looked closer, I felt the blood drain out of my face. It was Sam, my girlfriend's sister. Sam was 24, engaged to a guy named Derek, and their wedding was set for July. That was 2 months away. And here she was, tongue deep in some other man's mouth. I ducked behind the counter. I hoped she hadn't seen me. I told my coworker I know her, and he was like, "Oof, sorry man." I just stayed busy pretending I didn't see anything. After a few minutes they left, I let out a breath. I went out to clear their table, thinking the coast was clear. I was wiping down the booth when the door swung open. Sam walked back in. She must have left something, or maybe she just wanted to use the restroom. She saw me and froze. Her face went white, then red. She looked at me and whispered, "You saw nothing." I said I didn't see anything. She didn't believe me. Of course she didn't. She grabbed my arm and said, "We need to talk. You can't tell anyone, especially not my sister." I pulled away. "I have to get back to work." She left, but she said, "We're not done. You'll hear from me." I tried to shake it off. I texted my girlfriend later that afternoon, just a normal message about how work was crazy. She didn't reply right away. Then around 7, my phone blew up. My girlfriend was calling, texting, calling again. I answered. "Hey, what's going on with you and Sam?" she asked. Her voice was tight. "Nothing. Why?" "Sam called me. She said you were acting weird at the coffee shop. She said you were staring at her and making her uncomfortable." I felt a knot in my stomach. I wasn't staring, I was working. She was there with some guy. "What guy?" I hesitated. "I don't know, just some guy." My girlfriend got quiet. Then she said, "You're lying. Sam said you were being creepy. She said you followed her outside." "That's not true," I said. "She's the one who came back in." She said the opposite. "Look, I need you to come over tonight. We need to sort this out." I told her I couldn't. It was past my curfew, my parents were strict, and I wasn't allowed to leave the house after 8 on weeknights. She said she'd drive to my house and I could sneak out. I said I couldn't do that either. She said, "Please, Sam is freaking out. She says if you don't talk to her, she's going to tell my parents you tried something." I felt sick. I was being manipulated. I told my girlfriend I didn't try anything. I saw her kissing another guy, that's all. My girlfriend was silent for a long time. Then she said, "You're lying. Sam wouldn't do that." I didn't know what to do. I hung up. I spent the next hour pacing my room. I called my best friend and he said, "Dude, you have to tell the truth. Just tell her what you saw. If Sam's cheating, it's not your fault." But I was scared. I was 17. Sam was 24. She was about to get married and her whole family was wrapped up in this wedding. I didn't want to be the guy who destroyed a relationship. I didn't want to be the one everyone blamed. The next day, my girlfriend texted me again. She said she'd talked to Sam and Sam had admitted she was at the coffee shop with a friend from work. But they were just talking and I misinterpreted it. She said I owed Sam an apology. I knew that was a lie. I saw them. They weren't just talking, but I didn't know how to prove it. Then things got worse. That Tuesday, I got a message on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. It was a picture of me taken from across the street. The caption said, "This you get a life." It was from Sam. She made a fake account just to intimidate me. I showed it to my parents. They were furious. My dad said, "You need to tell your girlfriend the truth, and if her sister keeps harassing you, we're going to the police." I called my girlfriend that night. I told her everything, the whole story. How I saw Sam making out with a guy in the booth, how Sam came back in and begged me not to say anything, how she made up lies about me to cover it up. My girlfriend started crying. She said, "I don't know who to believe." I said, "Check her phone, look at her Instagram. She made a fake account to harass me." My girlfriend didn't say anything. She just hung up. The next day, I got a call from her mom. She wanted me to come over after school. I said, "Okay." My dad drove me. When I got there, Sam was sitting on the couch next to my girlfriend. Her fiancé, Derek, was there too. The room was tense. Derek looked at me and said, "Sam told me you've been spreading rumors about her. I want to hear it from you." I looked at Sam. She was glaring at me. I looked at my girlfriend. She was crying. I took a deep breath and said, "I saw Sam at the coffee shop with a guy. They were kissing, not just a peck, full making out. I saw it with my own eyes." I didn't want to say anything, but she threatened me. Derek didn't say anything. He just turned to Sam. "Is that true?" Sam started crying too. She said, "He's lying. He's obsessed with me. He's been following me." I said, "I have proof." I pulled out my phone. I showed them the Instagram message from the fake account. I also showed them a screenshot of the conversation Sam had with my girlfriend where she said I was acting weird at the coffee shop. I said, if I was the one lying, why would she make a fake account to threaten me? Derek looked at Sam. Show me your phone. Sam refused. She said I was trying to set her up. But Derek already knew something was off. He said, I'm calling off the wedding until I get the truth. That's when Sam ran out of the room. My girlfriend followed her. I was left alone with Derek. He said, thank you for telling me. I'm sorry she did all this to you. I said, I just wanted to stay out of it, but she made it impossible. The next week, my girlfriend broke up with me. She said she couldn't be with someone who caused so much drama. I was hurt, but I also knew she was choosing her sister over the truth. A few days later, Derek called me and said Sam had finally admitted everything. She had been seeing the guy for months, and she thought she could gaslight her way out of it. He said the wedding was off and Sam had moved out. I never saw Sam again after that, but I heard through mutual friends that she moved to another city. And my ex-girlfriend, she messaged me about a year later apologizing. She said she realized I was telling the truth, but she'd been too scared to confront her sister. She said she wished she'd believed me. I told her it was fine, but it was. I lost a relationship because I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. I learned that sometimes doing the right thing makes you the bad guy for a while. But I also learned that the truth always comes out eventually. In that coffee shop, I worked there for another 6 months. Every time someone made out in the corner booth, I'd just sigh and make their latte a little extra bitter. That wasn't the last time I learned that work and personal life are a powder keg. The next story is mine, and it started 9 years ago. I've always been private. I'm not ashamed of my life. I'm married. I have twin daughters, a dog, a nice house, but work is work. I spend 10 hours a day there, and I want to talk about something other than JoJo Siwa or the latest Kardashian drama. I play softball, I kayak, I mountain climb sometimes. None of that is secret, but it's not something I bring up in the break room. I use a shortened version of my name on Facebook, Ali instead of Alexandra, and I keep my privacy settings tight. My coworkers know me as the enigma who never shares anything personal. They're fine with it. We talk about projects, sports, movies. It works. Then we hired Melinda. She came in about a year ago, all smiles and eager questions. At first, I thought she was just friendly. She'd ask about weekend plans, family, where I grew up. I'd redirect. Not much, just relaxing. You know, the usual. She didn't push, but I noticed she kept a mental file on everyone. She'd remember tiny details other people forgot and use them later. I saw her do it to Hank, found out he was struggling with his mortgage, and then mentioned a great deal on refinancing in front of the boss. Hank looked mortified. I stayed guarded. Last Friday, Melinda walked into the lunchroom looking like she'd won the lottery. She sat down, took a sip of her soda, and announced to the whole table, for the record, our mysterious Alexandra is married with twin daughters, a dog, a nice house. She plays softball, kayaks, mountain climbs, and she's on Facebook. I found her through white pages in her married name. Some of her photos are public. The room went quiet. I felt my face get hot. I didn't scream. I just said, Melinda, that's an invasion of privacy. She shrugged. It's public information. You're the one who hid it. My coworkers looked uncomfortable. Lucy whispered, why does it matter? Melinda just smiled. I reported her to HR that afternoon. They said they'd talk to her about workplace harassment and respecting boundaries, but the damage was done. People started looking at me differently. Some were curious, some were annoyed I'd been so secretive. Rob, one of the guys I got along with, said, dude, we thought you were a spy or something. Why wouldn't you just say you're married? I said, because it's none of your business. That didn't go over well. A week later, I found out I had cancer. It was early stage, treatable, but I needed surgery and time off. My boss called me in and handed me a huge project, the biggest of the year. He said, I know you're going through something, but you're the only one I trust with this. I didn't tell him about the cancer. I just took the project. Melinda heard somehow. She went to my boss and said I was hiding a medical condition and couldn't handle the work. My boss asked me privately. I told him the truth. He said, I'm sorry you're dealing with that, but you've never let me down. Take the project, and if you need accommodations, let me know. I finished the project on time. Melinda was furious. She tried to dig up more dirt on me, but I had nothing to hide, just a lot I didn't share. HR eventually moved her to another department after multiple complaints from Hank, Rob, and Lucy. They learned what happened when you share too freely. Melinda used everything. I'm still private at work, but now people understand. And when a new hire asks why I never talk about my family, I just say, because I like coming home to them. Work is work. That was about respecting boundaries. But the next story, that one crossed a line I never thought a coworker would dare to. I have a chronic pain condition. The way I explain it is that normal people live at a pain level of 2 or 3, maybe a 4 if they're stressed. I live at a 6. Most days. On bad days, I'm at an 8 or 9. I own canes, but I only use them when I'm above a 7. I have a handicap placard on my car, and I filed all the proper paperwork with my job in case I ever need accommodations. I'm physically and legally disabled. I work a part-time job on top of my full-time one, mainly to pad my savings and keep my mind occupied. It helps with my anxiety. I was recently moved to a location closer to home. The team was great. My boss, Amy, was awesome. Then there was Casey. Casey and I were both assistant coordinators. Casey wanted a promotion badly. I didn't. My full-time job is enough. This part-time thing is extra. I was open about that. Casey saw me as competition anyway. One Sunday I was having a really bad pain day, probably an 8. I used my cane. I parked in the handicapped spot. I limped into work. Casey saw me and said, "Oh, having a rough day?" I just nodded. The next week I got a text from a friend. "Did you know someone took video of you outside the grocery store yesterday?" My heart stopped. I checked my phone. There it was, a video of me walking from my car to the store, no cane, moving normally. Someone had filmed me from across the parking lot and posted it on a local Facebook group with the caption, "This disabled lady doesn't look very disabled to me." I knew it was Casey. She had been asking around about my condition for weeks, questioning whether I was really disabled. I went to Amy. Amy pulled the security footage from the parking lot. It showed Casey sitting in her car, phone raised, filming me. I filed a police report. The officer said, "It's not illegal to film in public. You can file a harassment complaint with your job." I did. HR launched an investigation. Casey claimed she was just documenting suspicious behavior because she thought I was faking. She said she was trying to protect the company from fraud. But here's the thing, I'm black, I'm disabled, and I live in Texas. The cops didn't take me seriously. The officer actually said, "Maybe you should just talk it out." I lost my temper in that station. I said she stalked me, filmed me, and posted it to humiliate me. That's not a talk. The HR investigation found Casey violated company policy. They put her on probation, but she's still there. She sits 2 cubicles away and glares at me every day. I've thought about quitting, but I love my team, I love Amy, and I refuse to let a bully chase me out. The update, Casey tried to file a counter-complaint saying I was aggressive during the investigation. It was dismissed, but the tension is thick. I carry pepper spray now, and I check my mirrors when I leave the parking lot, because sometimes the worst workplace drama isn't about gossip. It's about someone trying to prove you're not who you say you are. That was back in January. But the story doesn't end there. A few weeks later, Casey escalated. She started leaving printed screenshots of my Facebook posts on my desk, public posts from years ago, nothing incriminating, just photos of me hiking, playing softball. She wrote in permanent marker on the margins, "This is what disabled looks like." I'd come in to find them face down on my keyboard. I took them straight to Amy. Amy called another meeting with HR. They interviewed me again, Casey again. She claimed she was just trying to understand my condition because she cared about workplace safety. HR bought it. They gave her a verbal warning and told her to stop communicating with me altogether. But they didn't move her. So she's still 2 cubicles away. Every time I stand up to get water, I can feel her eyes on my back. One day I dropped my pen and bent to pick it up. She whispered, loud enough for me to hear, "Faker." I didn't respond. I just picked up the pen and sat back down. Then the real fun started. She went to my boss and said she heard I was planning to sue the company for discrimination. She said she was just looking out for the company. Amy knew it was bullshit. She'd been there for every HR meeting, but the rumor spread. Suddenly some coworkers who'd been neutral started looking at me sideways. One of them, a guy named Derek, asked me if I was really disabled or just taking advantage of the system. I didn't scream, I just said, "I have a chronic pain condition. I've had it for years. I have a legal disability designation. Do you want to see my doctor's note?" He backed off, but the damage was done. I went to the police again, this time with a folder of evidence, the video, the screenshots, the whispered comments. The same officer took my report. He said, "Ma'am, I understand you're frustrated, but this is a workplace issue. We're not going to arrest her for saying mean things." I said, "She filmed me without consent and posted it online. That's harassment and defamation." He shrugged. "Posting in a local Facebook group is not defamation if she's stating an opinion, and filming in public is legal. Talk to your HR." I walked out of that station shaking. I called my full-time job's EAP line. The counselor told me to document everything, keep a log, and consider seeking a protective order. I did. I filed for a restraining order. The judge denied it because there was no physical threat. "She hasn't touched you or directly threatened your safety," he said. "We can't issue an order based on vibes." So here we are. I carry pepper spray. I check my mirrors. I park as close to the exit as possible. My therapist says I'm exhibiting hypervigilance. I say I'm trying to survive. The update I really wanted to share, Casey got promoted last month. Not to the coordinator job, that went to an external hire. But she got a lateral move to a different team with a fancy title change, senior assistant coordinator. She's still in the same building. I see her in the break room sometimes. She avoids eye contact. But I know she's still watching. I've thought about quitting, but I love my team, I love the work, and I refuse to let her win, so I stay. I use my cane on bad days. I park in the handicapped spot. I live my life. And if she ever pulls anything again, I'll have a lawyer on speed dial. Because here's the thing I've learned from all these stories: some people will always try to tear you down. They'll invade your privacy, mock your struggles, and weaponize your life against you. But you can't let them. You keep your head up, you document everything, and you keep living. And sometimes the best revenge is just being yourself. So that's my story. The coworker, the video, the cane. I don't know if Casey will ever leave me alone, but I know I'm not going to hide, not anymore.